So you may have heard about this game that was announced at E3 2017 called Sea of Thieves. Now Sea of Thieves is coming out on Xbox and Windows 10 sometime later in the near future, and Microsoft has said they're trying to make it as accessible to as many people as possible. Now I'm going to tell you what they're actually thinking of doing, which is kind of crazy, but then at the same time it's kind of not crazy. Now I'm going to read exactly what they said. I have my smartphone put up so I can read it to you guys, but it says, "We're trying to go as low as possible. We have an idea of what the minimum specs are, but aren't quite ready to reveal them. We've actually been inviting people below our current plan for minimum specs into the technical alpha so we can test a number of things on the performance side. We've actually added a 540p mode so you can go below HD. We've also added a 15 frames per second frame rate lock, because when we were talking to the community, some people were actually like, I'm actually happy playing 15 frames per second. We were like, that's actually really cool. We actually support that. And to them, go to them and say, oh, we've added the mode for you. It's below our rare certified minimum specs, but if you're enjoying the game, why should we as developers knock you for that?" Now, there used to be time in gaming where specs never mattered, performance never mattered. No one really cared about is the game played at 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 15 frames per second. Nobody really cared. There was a time like that people just wanted to play the video game. They didn't care about specs. As long as they were enjoying the video game, they were having fun playing the video game that the developer made for them, and they didn't care if it was choppy, it was laggy, it didn't look the best. Now Microsoft is doing this because they want to have this as accessible to as many people as possible. Honestly, of course, you're not going to get this best experience playing at 540p 15 frames per second, but there are people out there, like Microsoft just said, that don't care about specs when it comes to the video game. As long as the video game runs, they're actually going to play that. And I can see people not caring and actually playing the game, because some people, of course, can't afford high-end rigs and they just want to play the game. Granted, they're not going to get the same experience as people who are playing, of course, a high-end rig. I think nowadays we just have this mindset where we feel like, since technology has grown from what it used to be, that we feel like we need 60 frames per second, 4K, 1080p. We need the best of the best, and that's not always necessarily the case when it comes to video games. Do you need the best of the best when it comes to video games? Arguably, of course, you want the best experience you can get. You don't want a crappy experience, but doesn't necessarily mean you can't have a good experience even though you're still experiencing a crappy experience, if you know what I mean. There actually used to be a time where I would actually sit down on my crappy PC. I used to have a really shitty, crappy PC, and I would sit down and play the game. I was actually playing TF2, Team Fortress 2, on a crappy PC. I was literally getting like 20 frames per second. I was literally playing in like sub HD, and I was actually having fun with the game, and it never bothered me. Granted, I never knew anything about frames per second, graphics. That was like years and years ago, and I didn't know anything about the whole PC side. I knew about graphics and games and frame rates and what game rates should be. But nowadays, everyone's really focused on that, and whereas Microsoft is not really focused on that. They're just trying to get this out to as many people as possible, and if you want to have that experience, that 540p sub HD experience and 15 frames per second, go ahead and do it. Microsoft is thinking about allowing people to do that on Sea of Thieves, and I actually think that's a pretty cool idea, just to get the games into as many people's hands as possible. You can still play the game and play the game the way you want it. Don't let the developers tell you how you should play the game, and just because it's not the best experience in the world, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. That's what the gaming community should be about. It should be about having the most fun. You shouldn't be sitting down there when you're playing the game thinking about, oh my god, why am I not getting 60 frames per second? Why am I not getting 4K resolution and things like that? As long as that's put in the back of your head and you're having a fun time with the game, that should all that matter. Of course, 15 frames per second is obviously not going to be a good experience. It's going to be kind of laggy and choppy, of course, but I mean, if you can still play the game and have fun, then props to you. Anyway, guys, peace out. I'll see you guys later in my next video. I'm out, guys.